Alright, this is John Cola with DiscountJuicers.com today with another exciting episode for you. In this episode, we're going to talk about the Hurom H70. Literally, after 12 months of me using it, is it worth it? You're going to find the pros and the cons, the ups and the downs of the Hurom H70 to find out if this is the juicer you want to buy. So the first thing I will say straight up is that the Hurom H70 is not widely known, and to me, I believe this is sad. Hurom hasn't done the best job at basically getting the word out there about their amazing machine. You know, they don't have an army of influencers like other brands do, which I personally think they should. Nonetheless, I'm here to show you guys my experiences after using this machine for 12 months. Now, I do want to let you guys know that Hurom is the OEM manufacturer for many different juicer brands on the market. You know, a lot of the juicers that are made in South Korea that look similar to the H70 are actually made by Hurom. So in my personal opinion, Hurom saved their best engineering and best design for their own personal brand. So let's stay tuned to find out if this is the machine you're going to want to buy and my personal experience with it, including dispelling the myth if it does have buildup, because Hurom told me that it's not going to have any buildup. We will see for sure. So now I want to show you guys what I liked and didn't like at first about the Hurom H70 juicer. First thing that I liked is I liked the small footprint. This footprint is a bit smaller. It's not a super compact juicer, but it's smaller than some of the other hopper juicers out there. I do like that. I also like the build quality and the look of it overall. I think it's a nice looking juicer with the integrated hopper. What I didn't like about the Hurom H70 at first was the short 2-year parts warranty. And then of course it had a 10-year motor warranty, which I was alright with, right? That really troubled me a lot because other machines that Hurom makes for other brands in the market have full 15-year warranties. So I really kind of talked to Hurom and said, guys, I mean, I believe in your brand. And the question was, do you guys believe in your brand? And finally, Hurom increased the warranty on the H70 as well as a few other of their models, only select models, to a full 15 years, right? So now I'm fully on board with the Hurom H70 because it now has a warranty comparable to the other major brands out there. Of course, the downside is that not many people know about the Hurom H70, but should, in my opinion. Now, another thing I didn't like about the Hurom H70 at first was the hopper. This hopper is approximately 20% smaller than other hoppers on the market on most hopper style juicers made in South Korea. Okay, so I didn't like that the hopper was a little bit smaller. Over time, that didn't seem to bother me as much, but on the plus side, the smaller hopper and the way it's designed, instead of just being a conical like this, it's actually shaped like this. And due to the processing blade and the hole where the produce is fed into the juicing apparatus, I find that that part of the machine is the best design and easily allows to feed in everything you put in the hopper with minimal residue in the chamber. Even more so, up and beyond that, I find that this works better than other hopper juicers on the market for rejuicing your pulp. Whether you want to try to put the pulp that comes in straight in and rejuice it, you know, that works better than other machines because it'll get the hopper more empty and it won't stick to the sides as much. That being said, I do recommend buying some jicama or even carrots and cutting it into little cubes, mixing that with your pulp, and then putting the pulp plus the jicama cubes or other root vegetable cubes such as carrots in the hopper for a second go around, and that will always actually rejuice very well. If you want to see my specific way how to do this, link down below to my video where I make a green juice in the Hurom H70 and use this very technique to get my green juice pulp even drier. Now, another thing I liked about the Hurom H70 but was very skeptical about was that they're like, this is the easy clean machine, right? No scrubbing, no brush is required. When I heard this, like, I really didn't believe it. I'm like, man, every juicer I've cleaned for the last 25 years required me scrubbing the machine out. Except when Hurom came out with their Easy Clean design, and of course this is their latest Easy Clean design. So I'm like, I didn't really believe that there would be no buildup like Hurom had told me, so I wanted to prove it to myself. Now, after a year, my tests are conclusive, and you'll see if there's any buildup in just a little bit when I show you in detail what the juicing parts look like now. That being said, I'll give you guys the TDLR, which is, I'm actually more than happy with the easy cleaning, because what Hurom had told me is completely true. I don't use a scrub brush when cleaning the Hurom H70. I literally just spray it down with a high pressure stream from either my kitchen faucet or like a high pressure like hose, and it cleans super clean every single time with no scrubbing. This is probably the major advancement of the Hurom H70 and the advantage it has over every other juicer out there. Most juicers, except a few other models from Hurom, have stainless steel screens that one of my viewers commented recently on. Takes like a long time to scrub out all the pulp and get all the dislodged pulp out of the stainless steel screen holes. Of course, some stainless steel screen holes kind of get impacted more with pulp than others. Carrots and apples tend to impact the screen a lot more. That being said, no matter what you juice in the Hurom H70, it's not going to get ever clogged into stainless steel holes and require you scrubbing with a brush. I've sprayed it down every single time. Every different recipe I've made, I've always sprayed it down. It's always come clean without an issue. So this is completely true. And I mean, literally, this saves me a lot of time. For example, the Hurom H70 takes me about 60 seconds to clean. Right, and the last thing I'm wanting to do when I'm done making a batch juice of juicing like for an hour is like scrub the juicer, because I'm like kind of tired and I just want to be done with it, right? So with this, I'm like, oh, I'm done. This is probably the best part now. I just spray down the parts, put it on the drain rack, and I'm finished. And I can go on with my work and not have to like think, oh man, I gotta scrub down that juicer, get every possible screen hole clean, or else the screen will basically get dried in pulp, and then your performance of your juicer will decrease over time. Now, another thing that I was concerned about with the Hurom H70 was how much pulp would it put in the juice. All the other screenless designs or easy clean models by Hurom tended to put more pulp in the juice. You know, this is their latest model, which gets it maybe a little bit better and puts a little bit less pulp in the juice in most cases, but not all cases. That being said, this latest design does tend to make a higher yield based on my testing than their previous models, including the H400 and H310, which are all more modern, easy clean machines. If you guys want to see a direct comparison between the H400 and H310, there are other easy clean models, links down below, because I've made a comparison video comparing it. And in that video, the summary is the H70 came out on top. Well, another thing I really didn't like about the Hurom H70, and I still don't like it honestly, guys, is the gas gauge. This is a gas gauge which basically you have to take apart, and it's an extra part to clean, and I don't really see a use for it. I basically have just dealt with it because I like the H70 so much. I know some people may like the gas gauge. When you close this little spout, it'll kind of like fill up, and when it's up to the top, then you need to open and let all the juice out. There may be some advantages to this. You know, some of my viewers have said, John, when you keep that spout closed, maybe it oxygenates the juice a bit less. You know, I'm going to have to do further testing on that, which may be true. I always like to keep the spout cap open to let all the juice flow out. So that ensures the juice is not swimming in pulp as the machine's trying to extract it, so I could get a higher yield. Now I want to go over the build quality and assembly of the Hurom H70. You know, the build quality is good and solid. I mean, Hurom uses top quality plastics, the safest plastics and most durable and hardest plastics that you can find on any modern juicer of today. If you guys doubt me, link down below to a video where I compare the Hurom H70 against a El Cheapo Amazon juicer that I compare in the video down below to the Hurom uses plastics that are literally toxic, based on some of the data that I found, and can put your health at risk. So this is nice, very good build quality. We'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later, because I did break apart, which we'll talk about at the end of this episode. But nonetheless, I really love this machine because it is so easy to assemble. You literally unscrew it. You have two pieces here that come out as a one-piece auger, and you just simply put those together like this, drop that in, you drop this on top, drop this in there, and you're all assembled and ready to juice. It couldn't be any simpler, couldn't be any easier. I do like that the H70 has less parts to clean and less parts to deal with compared to some of the other hopper juicers that have the stainless steel screen, then they have the wiping blade, then they have the auger, and all these other things that make it a little bit more complicated, and once again, more parts to clean. This is just a streamlined juicer that works quite well from what I found. So now I'm going to share my juicing test results. I've made juices from leafy greens, from celery, from ginger and turmeric, from oranges and apples and pineapples, beets, all in the Hurom H70. If you guys want to see me juice some of those exact items, links down below, because I'll have videos where I can link it to me juicing carrots and my green juice and celery and other ingredients, including beets and pineapple, without clogging in the Hurom H70. Based on all my testing, it does a fabulous job. Now, will I say the Hurom H70 gets the highest yield compared to every other juicer in the world? Absolutely not. There are definitely ways to get more juice than the Hurom H70. Matter of fact, link down below to my video where I share the 2 best ways to juice in 2025 using a vacuum blender and using it as a juicer, or, which will get you the highest yield and nutrition, right? Or using the Hurom H70 because it's the easiest. So you can really see the difference in time that the Hurom will save you. Of course, you're going to get less juice as well. But that's really where the Hurom H70 comes in. Because the whole juicing process is easier, literally takes you a few minutes to make a whole glass of juice, including the cleaning time. I think in that video I did 3 minutes of total active time, me working with the juicer, whether I'm loading it up or whether I'm cleaning it, to have a full glass of juice. I mean, that is amazing. There's no other juicer faster in the world that I've tested that's going to leave you guys with the least amount of work, okay? That being said, it does perform adequately, and it performs about as well or a little bit better than some of the other comparable hopper-style juicers on the market. Now, the one caveat is with the screenless design, it will put more insoluble fiber or pulp into your juice. Nowadays, I've reviewed a lot of published studies that show some fiber in with your juice. The insoluble fiber can be quite beneficial, so I tend to strain it out less these days than I did in the past. Of course, Hurom does not include a sieve, which you can just buy a simple sieve at your local houseware store to put over your collection cup, so you basically remove the fiber as it comes out of the machine. In most cases, the Hurom can put a little bit more pulp in the juice compared to other machines, although in some of my tests, in rare instances, it actually put less pulp than even a screen design. So it really depends on the specific produce you're juicing. Next, I want to talk about clogging. Have I ever clogged up the Hurom H70? And come to think of it, when I properly prepare the produce I'm going to juice, including cutting up my celery into smaller pieces, not jamming things in there, right? It has never clogged on me. So I'm going to say it's actually quite a refined piece. The processing blade does an amazing job to pre-cut things to a smaller size. And in addition, more importantly, besides just pre-cutting, that the processing blade also feeds the produce into the machine based on the hole here at the proper rate and speed, so it does not overload the juicer and put too much in the juicer at once, which is another reason for the juicer clogging. This is a big problem that I used to have with my customers when they'd have to manually feed in their juicer and drop produce in if they didn't pre-cut it properly and drop it in a slow and moderate rate, and they try to push things in with a pusher. That's when you get clogging jams. But with the Hurom H70, because it does it all for you, that no longer happens. So if you guys still have one of those manual feed juicers where you're going to drop things in and it doesn't have a hopper, I would encourage you guys to upgrade to the hopper, because it saves you guys so much more time and makes juicing so much more convenient. So the other thing about the Hurom H70 is that this is a very quiet juicer. Runs in the neighborhood of around 60 to 65 decibels, because once again it is a slow juicer and running at a low and slow 60 revolutions per minute, so it doesn't oxidize your juice like a high-speed juicer or high-speed blender would that adds lots of air into the juice. And in my opinion, air is the enemy of juice, because air can cause oxidation, can increase polyphenol oxidase, and lower nutrition significantly. All right, so now we're gonna put the manufacturer's claims to the test, right? Hurom told me there's no buildup on the parts. So let's find out, after me using the machine for approximately 12 months now, is there buildup on the part? So we're going to take apart this machine part by part and show you guys, all right? So first up, we're going to go ahead and take off the hopper. So once again, every time I'm done juicing, I basically just open up the hopper, I take a sprayer, I spray down all the parts with high pressure water. Here, inside here, on the bottom here. So is there buildup? You guys tell me. I mean, this is a smoked plastic. I definitely have some water spots on there. But if I hold this up, I'm not seeing any major buildup. I'm seeing maybe a little bit. I mean, if I scrubbed it down, I could probably get it a bit cleaner. I'm seeing mostly water spots. I don't think I see any necessarily buildup on these parts. But I mean, maybe my plastic is a little bit discolored. On the black plastic here, I'm definitely not seeing any buildup. On the auger here, I'm seeing a little bit of discoloration right here on the top. It's still shiny, but this is a bit darker. Of course, on the bottom, this is where all the pulp kind of interacts. And so on the outside here, I'm not seeing really any buildup. I am seeing a little bit of discoloration on this center ring. Once again, I did not scrub this. I just spray it off. I'm sure if I scrub this with some soap and a brush, it would probably get that off. But yeah, there is a tiny bit of buildup on this little middle piece. I tell it to you guys like it is, all right? Next up, the part that I was most concerned about, which is the auger. Once again, Hurom said, no buildup on the auger, John, and what say you? I mean, you guys can see the auger there. Do you guys see any buildup on it? All right, so what I'll tell you guys is on most of the auger, like all this whole area, I'm literally not seeing any buildup on it. If we look right at the top here, for some strange reason, there's a little buildup right in this area. I think that's where things get initially crushed. There's maybe a little buildup right here. But I mean, it's not like a lot, and you guys could have to struggle to see it, right? I'm struggling to see it, and I'm like right here. So I mean, there's tiny bits of buildup. There's a little bit of buildup right here. Once again, this is after 1 year use of me never scrubbing it. I just spray it down, right? So yeah, their claim on the auger appears to be mostly true, right? There's no buildup on this, which I thought, man, there's gonna be a ton of buildup on this stuff. Me juicing all the crazy things I juice and the green juices, all right? That being said, let's go ahead and open up this auger and see if there's any buildup on the inside, right? It's definitely, I mean, I spray out the outside really good, but it's more difficult to spray the inside, and this is where the juice comes out. The grinding happens on the outside, so I could see it almost auto-cleaning on the outside, because as the juicer is grinding up the pulp and the fiber in the pulp kind of help keep the outside clean, but as the juice falls through, once again, these little cracks and then fall in through the bottom of the auger, out the bowl, is there any buildup? So as we open this, right, if you guys look inside there, I don't know if you guys can see that as I spin it around, right, there's ever so slight buildup, right? Definitely no buildup on the outside, but on the inside of these parts, I'm going to say near the bottom, like about that much, there's a little bit of buildup, and then as you go up, actually along the sides, there's a little bit of buildup on the sides. I'm going to say that's on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being like the worst buildup I've seen on juicers, which is really bad. You know, I'm going to say this is about a 2. Like, this does not affect the performance. It's slight buildup. If I want to get this stuff off, I could soak this in like some hot water with some citric acid, and that would probably just get this clean without me even scrubbing it. Once again, that being said, I'm not even going to do that because the buildup doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect the performance of the machine. And, you know, I want to see what happens when I continue to not scrub it to see if the buildup gets worse or pretty much stays the same. Okay. Next part, I'm going to say the bottom half of the auger. This probably has a little more buildup than the top half. Once again, this is together and then the juice runs down these parts and then out the spout. So if you guys look on basically the edges of these little tines, you guys can see both sides of the edges basically have some buildup on there. Is it a lot? No, I'm going to say once again, it's about a 2 out of 10. It's not even on the whole spline there. But then if we flip this over underneath, I don't know if you guys can see that, but basically down in here above the stainless steel actually doesn't have any buildup, but the plastic part above the stainless steel does have some buildup. Once again, I have not scrubbed this 1 iota, and you know, inside this, I'm going to say the buildup is maybe like about a 3. So the buildup is the worst. Inside here, once again, that does not affect performance. Now the other thing I will say is that I have very hard water here, and I don't use a water softener. So this buildup may be some minerals from the water that I use to clean this, in addition to the the minerals and the buildup from the fruits and vegetables. I'm not sure which it is because I'm not going to scrape this off and send it to the lab to see what is this buildup made of. I'm just sharing with you guys like it is. Now, what I'm going to recommend to Hurom if they are watching this is I'm going to recommend to Hurom you guys make this whole thing out of stainless steel, right? If you guys made this out of stainless steel, right? Stainless steel is stainless. It's not going to have any buildup. So, here's the thing is Hurom's claim to me that there's no buildup. Well, true. I'm going to say not quite. There is some buildup on the inside, but they are factual that there's like literally no buildup on the outside of the auger, which I'm impressed about because I was expecting this to be totally built up with stuff. But, on the outside appearance, there's no buildup. So that's impressive. Next up, let's see if there's any buildup inside the juicing bowl. Because once again, I don't scrub inside the juicing bowl. I spray it down. This is something I've never done on every other juicer I've owned. I always try to scrub my juicers down with soap on a brush to make sure I get everything off. So I always have the best presentable juicers for my videos. But in this case, in the Hurom, I just spray it down. No soap is ever used. Now, if you maybe do soap this up, that may help keep down the buildup over time and then spray it down because, once again, soap is kind of like a surfactant and actually kind of will pull, things off, and especially if you scrub it, it'll even be better. But once again, right, I want to prove the claim of Hurom if that there's going to be no buildup. So inside this bowl, do you guys see any buildup as I spin it around, right? And what I'll tell you guys is I see very little buildup. I see like right at the top, maybe that's where things get initially ground up. Once again, right at the top of the outside of the auger, there's a little bit as well in various spots. So there's a little here, a little here, little here, a little here. Like on a scale from 0 to 10, 0 being 0 buildup, 10 being the worst, I'm going to say this is like a 1. Like if I didn't really look at this hard, I would say there's like no buildup. I mean, it's very light buildup. There's no buildup on the bottom where the juice comes out or anything like that. Let's go ahead and take this gas gauge thing off. Inside here, is there any buildup? Well, this bottom piece of the plastic, it is kind of like a smoke kind of color plus a texture. So, I think they've done that so that so the buildup blends in, but I'm not really seeing too much buildup despite the texture they put into it. However, I will say that on this spout here on the bottom, it's pretty apparent to me as the juice flows out this little spout. On the bottom of this spout, there is definitely some buildup. I don't know if you guys could see it on there, but it's really not that bad. This is what it looks like clear, and the bottom, there's a little bit of buildup. Once again, on other juicers, I would take the brush with a little bit of dish soap and then scrub this area out. Once again, on the Hurom, I just spray this out with high pressure water. If you are concerned, maybe you could just spray off everything. Maybe you would want to brush the inside parts with soap and water, and then you would brush this part with soap and water with the brush to keep all your buildup to a minimum or off your machine if you don't want the easy cleaning. Or maybe every time you easy clean it, maybe once a week, you could scrub down some of the parts that I've showed you will have buildup over time. And once again, I've used this machine longer than anybody in the United States, because I got the machine a little bit before it was released, and I put out my original video approximately 10 months ago now. So yeah, I'm going to say definitely Hurom's done a great job. So let's take a look at where the pulp comes out. So where the pulp comes out, once again, the buildup is not like buildup or not. It's a scale of 0 to 10. 0 to 10 on this part. Once again, it's like a 2.5. There's a little bit of buildup, and I would say it's mostly in the crevices that, like, if you're using a brush and a soap, you'd be able to get clean. But once again, I just spray this out. On the top here where the pulp comes out, it's basically like a 1 out of 10 on buildup. Like, I could see a little bit of discoloration, but it's not bad at all. So in the end, I'm going to have to tell you guys that, overall, this machine has the least buildup of any juicer that I've seen in the past, because I've scrubbed juicers down with soap and seen more buildup than this on some of them. That being said, I will dispel the myth that there'll be no buildup. There's very tiny little bits of buildup, that you have to hunt and look for inside the parts, while on the outside of the parts, you won't see any. Another thing I was told by Hurom is that there'll be no clogging on this machine, right? Despite not having a juicing screen. And does that hold up to be true? And I could say yes. I don't think I've ever put anything into the machine and I made the machine stop due to having too much of a torque load or filling the hopper up too much. That has happened on other machines out there. So despite having, I believe, a 150 watt motor, it actually is quite torquey and is sufficiently powered to power through everything in the hopper. Another claim Hurom makes, of course, is that it's an easy clean machine. And in real world results, would I say this is an easy to clean machine? I would absolutely say yes. I mean, there's other brands out there that claim their machine is easy to clean because there's no specific definition of what easy means. But to me, this is an easy to clean machine because literally I spray it down, no scrubbing, takes me 1 minute. So that is totally true. Another claim that Hurom makes is that they say that the screenless design or the easy clean design does put more pulp in your juice than screen designs. So is that true? And I'm going to say yes, that is generally true. I will say most of the time the Hurom H70 does put more pulp in your juice, which I now believe to be a good thing after looking at many published scientific studies. I'll have videos on my channel in the future regarding this, so make sure you click the subscribe button down below and click the little bell so you're notified as those new videos come out where I reveal some of the science to you. That being said, in very few instances I find that the Hurom H70 makes less pulp in the juice than even a screen machine. So things aren't always as cut as dry as they seem. It always depends on your specific ingredients that you're juicing because those ingredients may react differently in different design juicers. Alright, so now I want to show you guys the pros and cons of the Hurom H70 after using it for literally 1 year or the last 12 months. Number one, it's the fastest and easiest to clean. There's no scrubbing, and I've proven that now finally to myself after 1 year of not scrubbing this machine with a brush 1 iota. Next up, because there's no metal screen, I will say there is minimal buildup of any kind of residues in there. I'm going to say it's not residue free like Hurom had claimed to me, but there's very little residue that actually doesn't bother me at all because for juicing as much as I've done in this machine to have that much buildup, I'm quite impressed. It also has very few parts, so it's easy to assemble and disassemble, and of course having less parts makes it easier to clean, and of course having it less parts means that there's less parts to break on you. Of course, another thing I love about the Hurom H70 is that it offers hands-free juicing. You literally load up this hopper, shut the lid, turn it on, walk away, come back several minutes later, and you have a juice, and then you have literally 1 minute to clean the machine. There's no hopper juicer that is faster than this, and I guarantee it. Another big pro of this machine over other hopper juicers is that I find that this machine makes rejuicing your pulp to get the maximum amount of yield using a hopper juicer with the least amount of effort the best. So if you want to rejuice your pulp, I find that the Hurom H70 does it the best. Running the pulp back through a second time gets that pulp incredibly dry. I'm not going to say as dry as like spending $2,500 on a Norwalk or Pure juicer, but I'm going to say it's sufficiently dry enough for me to just throw it in my compost because I believe there's like not much nutrition left in it. So another thing about the Hurom H70 that's a huge pro that I love a lot, and that brought this to the forefront of the juicer that I use the most because Hurom is now backing it up with a full 15-year warranty, which is the industry standard in juicers, right? They nixed the short warranty. They wanted to be more competitive and sell more machines, and in my opinion, it's definitely working because I've seen the Hurom H70 sell a lot more than they ever have. Definitely catching up to some of the other major brands on the market. So of course, along with the pros, there's definitely some cons with the Hurom H70. I wish there was a machine that was like perfect in all respects. I'm going to say the Hurom H70 comes really close, but there are a few cons that I want you guys to be aware about because I share it to you guys and tell it to you guys like it is on my channel. Number one, biggest con for me is the hopper. While I love the hopper because it's the very most efficient hopper, I also don't like the hopper because it is 20% smaller than most other hoppers on the market. That's been something a bit more challenging for me to deal with now that there's hoppers on the market that have like 4.3 liters, which is like almost 3 times larger than this. Hopefully Hurom corrects this and actually comes out with a hopper attachment or some kind of larger hopper so you could enhance and make this hopper even larger. So it'd be then one of the best machines on the market because it'd have all the advantages plus the large hopper that I miss on some of the other machines. So yes, you do have to load this a little bit more, but definitely loading it more, I think, for me, is worth the easier cleaning. So another con for this machine, and some of you guys may never even do this, is the sorbet function on the machine, right? The sorbet function did not work as well as some of the other hopper juicers. What I mean by that is when you put the produce, the frozen produce in the hopper to go in, because the hole is so small, because the frozen produce is so hard, it doesn't basically get chopped up by the processing blade and doesn't drop in the machine to get made into a delicious sorbet as quickly or efficiently as some of the other machines out there that have a lot larger hole in the hopper. That being said, when the frozen fruit does go in the machine does process that frozen fruit, and then the sorbet comes out. It comes out in a thinner ribbon, which in my opinion even is a little bit better consistency than some of the other hopper juicers on the market. That being said, I don't know how many of you guys out there really buy a juicer to make sorbet, but it's another amazing thing you can do with the H70. And honestly, guys, I'll tell you guys straight up, I encourage you guys to make frozen fruit sorbets out of your ripe frozen fruits. And I encourage you guys actually not to juice your fruits, but use it for sorbet. But I want you guys to juice your leafy greens as well as vegetables, as well as non-sweet fruits. Those are the best things, honestly, in my opinion, to juice. Now, of course, the final con, and this is a bigger or smaller con for some people out there. To me, it was a larger con, and nowadays it doesn't really bother me as much because, once again, I focus on the cleaning. The cleaning is so much easier. I'm willing to give up a few sacrifices and a few things that maybe aren't perfect about the Hurom H70. So, you know, the big con is that this machine generally will put more pulp in the juice that you're making. Of course, buying an accessory sieve, even you could go to the Dollar Tree and buy an accessory sieve for like $1.25 to sieve out your juice after the juice comes out to remove that pulp if you don't want it. But this machine does put more pulp into the juice, which unfortunately most influencers and people testing the Hurom H70, they don't screen out the juice, and then they'll compare the juice made with the Hurom H70 against another machine. And when the H70 puts more pulp in the juice, that will artificially inflate the yield. That's why in most of all my tests, I generally will share with you guys the unfiltered and filtered out, or at least use the filtered version to ensure we have an apples to apples comparison so you guys can see the actual testing results. So the amount of pulp in your juice may be variable with this machine, not as quite predictable as with other machines. Of course, the texture of your produce matters. I've noticed when I use nice, hard, firm produce, right, it tends to put less pulp in the juice. And if you get, for example, softer apples, softer pineapples, there'll be more pulp in your juice. If you select harder produce items, then there's going to be tend to be less pulp in your juice as well. Now, another con that I've noticed about the Hurom H70 is that due to the way it grinds up the produce, you know, there's a little bit more polyphenol oxidase that is activated that may reduce polyphenol content of some of your juices. I've noticed this when I use the H70, and it makes a little bit more ruddy, I will say ruddy color celery juice than say a you know, auger style juice that doesn't tend to add as much oxygen in the machine. I haven't exactly figured that out why. I think that's because maybe like, as it's grinding up on the outside between the juicing bowl and the auger, it basically kind of adds in more air than between the juicing screen and the auger. And I'm wondering about the tolerances and how tight the tolerances are this machine compared to more traditional machines that appear to put less oxygen into the juice, which then causes less oxidation. This is not a super huge con because if you drink the juice right after you make it or you store it without the oxygen, you're going to basically halt or minimize the polyphenol oxidase damage from the enzyme that can go crazy because, you know, of more oxygen being mixed in to the juice. Of course, if you want to completely prevent or minimize the polyphenol oxidase reaction from occurring, I want you guys to look at the video down below using the best juicer of 2025, which is actually a vacuum blender where you pull out the oxygen, up to 75% of the oxygen out of the carafe before doing the grinding process, so you have the least amount of polyphenol oxidase oxidation. The Hurom H70 is not the machine if you want to get, if you guys want the most nutrition. I'll be straight up and tell you guys that. And actually, I'll be straight up and tell you guys that, you know, you don't want to get an auger juicer if you guys want the most nutrition, right? You want to at least minimally get a vacuum blender, do vacuum juicing, or even above that, if you're juicing things like root vegetables and carrots, get a twin gear juicer such as the Green Star 5. You know, that tends to do a better job grinding with stainless steel gears than basically a plastic auger can. So the final verdict and the last part of this episode is that should you guys buy the Hurom H70? So this is what I'll tell you guys. For people that want the easiest cleaning, because cleaning is the reason why you don't juice. Maybe you have a juicer sitting in your cupboard, in your closet, that you don't get out because you know when you get that machine out, you're going to be scrubbing all these parts and you got to push produce in the machine. If you hate the cleaning process and you actually hate pushing things into the juicer, the Hurom H70 is the machine to buy because literally they've solved these two big pain points. You can now load up a hopper, which, you know, many other machines have. Many other machines have a hopper. You can load up, shut the lid, and walk away and let the juicer do all the juicing. So that's not super unique to the Hurom H70. Other machines have that out there. And of course, other machines have even larger hoppers than the H70. The advantage the Hurom H70 has against other juicers out there that have a hopper is that, once again, it has the easy clean system that I showed you guys. It gets very minimal, if any, buildup on it, even after 1 year of use. Other machines have a stainless steel juicing screen with all these little small holes, an auger, and a wiping blade that you need to clean now 3 parts with a brush, right? Instead of just spraying down the 2-piece auger, you know, so that you can have juice quickly and easily with the minimal amount of effort on your part. I think that's really where the Hurom H70 shines, and I've seen so many more people start to juice because of having the right equipment. You guys know, if you guys are in a contract or even a hair studio or hair salon, you guys know that with the right scissors or the right hammer or the right drill, you guys can get the job done in half the time, in minimal time. And if you don't have the right tools or equipment, it's going to be frustrating. You may not be able to get the job done properly, and it's going to be a hassle, right? To me, the Hurom H70 is the best juicing tool to get juicing done the most efficiently and the most easily with the least amount of work that you need to do. This way, you are more likely to juice and more likely to reap the benefits of the fresh fruit and vegetable juices that are now extracted in a concentrated form that can get absorbed into your bloodstream faster, so you get greater and better health benefits, right? For you and your family. Just think about the difference it can make to you and your family if you start juicing and drinking juice every day instead of drinking that soda, instead of drinking those other beverages that come in cans that cost several dollars a piece now, all these sodas and other things that are just junk that have very little food value and all the sugar in there, right? You could get the power of literally fruits and vegetables in a glass in the easiest way with the Hurom H70, easiest and least amount of work on your part. And even after not scrubbing it for a year, this thing is totally clean in my book. That being said, the Hurom H70 is not for everybody, and I'll be straight up and tell you guys this. This is not for somebody that wants to do huge batches. While I have used this machine to make huge batches, and I've run this machine personally for over an hour straight without turning it off, it is never timed out or turned off or failed on me due to like a overload or a heat buildup because it got too hot when I did use it for longer than you should, because Hurom says it has a 30-minute run time. I can't necessarily recommend you guys do this, but this is not for you guys want to make huge batches, right? Then I would recommend a juicer that has a much larger hopper. Link down below to my video where I compare the Hurom H70 against the ginormous Auto 10 by Kuvings with hopper extension, right? That's the machine you guys want to get for the super huge large hopper. Of course, that has a traditional screen, and it's going to take you 4 to 5 times longer to clean. That being said, you know, I've batched juice in this, but you do need to load it up a little bit more, so it's a bit more of a hassle. So you have to determine for yourself, what's a bigger pain point? Is a bigger pain point loading up the hopper? Do you hate that more, or do you hate cleaning more? And if the answer is you hate cleaning more, then the Hurom H70 is for you. But if you hate loading the hopper up multiple times and just want to load it up, you know, 1/3 or, you know, half the time, half as many times, that's the reason you'd go for the Kuvings Auto 10. Again, links down below to compare this to the Auto 10 in detail to learn the pros and the cons and ins and outs of both machines. And in the yield test, actually both these machines pretty much made a similar yield. So at the end of this video, I'm going to ask myself a question. John, if you got sent this juicer again 1 year ago now, would you use it the entire past year as your primary juicer? The juicer that I've used the most. I've experienced all the major brand juicers. I've used them all. And here's the thing, guys, I'll tell you, I'm lazy. I'll use what the easiest machine to use is, as long as I'm not giving up significant amount of performance and usability, right? And so what I'll tell you guys is that, yes, I would do the Hurom H70 again, right? I would buy the Hurom H70 if I was you, because, you know, I've tested all the machines, and this is the machine that I choose to use the most. And this is the real deal, guys. 15-year warranty. Easy to clean, easiest to use, so you'll be juicing for you and your family and getting the benefits of juice. So yes, I'm fully on board with the Hurom H70 over other hopper juicers, primarily because of the easy cleaning design and that it doesn't take a significant performance hit for the easy cleaning design, meaning you get pretty much the similar amount of yield as compared to other machines within an set 10% tolerance, either, you know, more or maybe 10% up to 10% less. But to me, the easy cleaning is an easy trade-off. And of course, now with a 15-year warranty, you have nothing to lose with the Hurom H70. If you guys are looking to buy the Hurom H70 right now, I'm going to save you guys the most money on the Hurom H70. You guys could use my coupon code. We'll throw up right there, PROVEN, P-R-O-V-E-N, because the Hurom H70 has time proven itself to me that it is a solid and dependable juicer after using it for the last 12 months, and I recommend it wholeheartedly. So if you guys want to save a minimum of 10% off, maybe even more, my coupons will always get you guys the most discount that is publicly available on the Hurom machines. And so please use my coupon codes instead of others. That way Hurom knows that I send them a little bit of business, and they'll share with me a small commission so I can continue to make these educational videos and show you guys my honest opinions about the different juicers out there. So I want to thank you guys in advance for those of you guys that will use my coupon code, and thank you guys who have used it in the future. It is how I'm able to continue to spend my time to make these videos, buy my produce to do my own personal juicing, pay my electricity bill, my light bill, you know, pay my amazing video editor who's editing these videos so you guys could have some of the best knowledge on juicers on entire YouTube, because I've tested them all and I'm the #1 juicer expert in the world. All right, so the final thing I want to let you guys know about is what happened to my Hurom juicer and the two problems I've had with it, right? One, I've actually talked about and shown since I've got it and unboxed it, which is basically this flap here has a little silicone stopper or gasket on there that goes underneath here, right? And on other Hurom machines I've had, right, when I close this spout cap, or the juice cap here, the juice never leaks. On this particular Hurom H70, it is always leaked from day one, right? I've never really requested Hurom send me a new part until recently, so hopefully they will send me that part, because I would like to get this corrected. I have not seen it leak on other Hurom juicers, so I believe my part is just defective, as this is one of the first ones off the production line. All right. Second problem, a little bit more of a problem, but actually it's not a problem of Hurom, it's a problem of mine. So you may be noticing, John, why do you have a rubber band holding your juicer together? Don't worry, right? It doesn't normally do this. Okay. So what happens is there's a little clip that goes on here. This is a little clip, and the clip will sit on this part here and basically clip this up like this. And what it is, this clip basically has like two little holes, and on this outlet flap, there's two little pins that come off this outlet flap. And when this was sitting in my sink, ready to get cleaned, I basically like tossed, I think it was one of the juice catch cups, into my sink, and somehow it basically knocked this, and when it knocked this, it knocked the pins off. And then and then that way, then I couldn't close this anymore. So then I contacted my rep at Hurom, which is the marketing manager, and sent him a picture of this part and said, hey, this part is damaged on mine. Can you send me a replacement part? And honestly, this would not be covered under warranty because, you know, this did not break in normal operation. I take full responsibility for breaking this part. And then when they sent me the replacement part, they sent me this little part, which holds on this Pulp outlet flap. It basically is a hinge. It's the Pulp outlet hinge, which is what they sent me. I then told them, hey, you didn't send me the right part. I sent them the picture again of this. And they then sent me like one of these, and then once again more of these. So that being said, I did go on the Hurom website, and then they have different parts available for sale. So for example, this hinge here is like literally a $3 part you could buy from Hurom. This little hinge flap thing here is a $3 part from Hurom, and then this whole plastic piece is a $3 part from Hurom. The challenge I have with Hurom at this time this video is being filmed is that when you go to buy the parts, it just has like a blank picture, so you don't actually see what part it is. So I told Hurom, hey, we had some problems getting me the right part, and I'm sure other customers may have this too. So please update your website with pictures of the specific parts of the Hurom, so that if somebody should break it on their own accord like I did, right, they could just order the part without a problem. Once again, if you do break this part, it's literally just $3, which is, I think, you know, amazing, you know, just for a part. I think that's a reasonable prices. There's some companies out there that try to gorge you when you buy replacement parts. That's definitely not Hurom. They're not trying to sell you the whole bowl. They'll sell you the individual part that broke. You know, they have other individual parts listed on their website as well, and some of the parts prices is actually lower than some of the other brands out there. That being said, I do hope they get pictures you know, on the parts page so that it makes it more clear when you do need to get replacement parts. So that's why I have a rubber band currently holding my Hurom H70 spout cap closed. And so yeah, if you break yours, if you don't want to buy the part, you could use a rubber band. It totally works. You want to get a nice thick rubber band and hold it firmly in there, and then you know, put it down. So yeah, so you guys, you know, here's the thing, guys. I tell like it is, good, bad, right, wrong. I don't really care. I share my truth with you guys, my experiences with you guys, so that you guys can make the best purchase decision. I didn't like that, you know, I got sent the wrong part twice, but I understand mistakes do happen. And because of this mistake to me, I'm sure Hurom will get their act together so that this won't happen to any other customer. So I guess I took one for the team so that now you guys could have better customer service from Hurom, so they will send you the right part the first time. So at the end of this episode, what did you think about the Hurom H70 and my comments after using it for the last 12 months? I really would love to hear your opinion, so post your comments down below. After every new video that I post, I do tend to look at the comments for about the first week and reply to them as much as I'm able. After that, you know, I'm off to doing other things and keeping up with current videos and new videos and answering questions under current videos. But I always try to get back to old videos whenever I can to answer any questions. So yeah, I'd love to hear what you think. If you already own a Hurom H70, please share your comments with others down below, because in my book, the Hurom H70 is definitely a winner. You know, the pros definitely outshine the cons by far to make this the easiest juicer that you should be juicing with in 2025 and beyond until a better machine comes out. So if you guys enjoyed this episode learning about my experience with the Hurom H70 after 12 months, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Also share this with other people that are frustrated with their juicer because of the hard cleaning, because they gotta cut up produce and drop it in to the machine bit by bit, or push produce items into the machine, and they don't simply have the strength to do that anymore. The Hurom H70 makes the whole juicing process as easy as can be. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss my new and upcoming episodes. I'll be coming every 5 to 7 days. You never know what you'll be learning, what new juices I'll be unboxing, what new comparisons I'll be doing, or what new juicing knowledge bombs I'll be dropping on you, so you guys could enhance your juicing experience and buy the right juicer the first time. Make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my videos come out. And finally, be sure to check our past episodes. Past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 800 episodes at this time on this channel dedicated to compare and contrast all the different major brand juicers and other appliances that allow you to process fruits and vegetables and other plant foods in the best ways possible. Once again, links down below that I've referenced in this video, the Hurom H70, juicing many different items as well as comparing it to some of the other machines out there so you could learn why I believe it's the winner. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. be sure to visit discountjuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.